everybody, Erico here, and I am back again on your computer screens. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's get into some Hong Kong political cartoons.
One of Hong Kong's last remaining critical voices in mainstream media has had his political cartoon column axed after nearly 40 years. On Sunday, Wang Geiguan, better known by pen name Junzi, was cut from the pages of the Mingpao. While the newspaper did not give an official reason, it had received 6 government complaints where his drawings mocking policy decisions were called misleading, deceiving the public, or slanderous. Mingpao was the last paper to carry Junzi's cartoons since police raided and shut down the pro-democracy Apple Daily in 2021, following a sweeping national security law. Speaking to Reuters, the 67-year-old cartoonist defended his right to express himself.
Besides news reports, comics can serve as a record of society's emotions, some layman's ideas, or the thoughts of the masses, and to question and challenge. I believe this is something that should be done.
So these are an art form that were in freedom-formed newspaper strips. And they had their own little section in these papers that people who wanted to have their own opinions, have their own thinking thoughts. And Hong Kong was supposed to be a place where people were allowed to have their own thoughts and opinions, especially when it comes to mainland China. But recently, with the national security law, there's been more of a crackdown on what people can say and what they consider to be biased media. So now, a lot of the artists who created these political cartoons are losing their jobs. They're finding that their sections in these newspapers are going away. Heck, they finding that the whole newspaper is just disappearing. And many artists are like, what in the world are we supposed to do now? This is not the Hong Kong that we knew. And just having mainland China and their leaders and everyone trying to take control, trying to absorb just everything so that everything in Hong Kong is the way that they really want it to be, even though, of course, the Hong Kong leaders will deny and say that, no, it's not true. But meanwhile, we're having certain books that tell events that were true that involved mainland China and Hong Kong being taken off shelves or not being told. And it's reminding a lot of people of how China and their leaders censor a lot of things, and they don't want a lot of the truth to come out because they don't want to sway public opinion. These political cartoons that I'm sure have made their waves all over the world. There are so many artists that are so talented that were behind these cartoons who were telling the truth in a slapstick type of way. They poked fun at China mostly. We have a lot of these artists that sadly, when the hammer was coming down on them, they were lucky enough they didn't just go poof and disappear and get whisked away to this weird facility like a lot of the whistleblowers in China. They actually had a chance to run away. So a lot of them went to Taiwan, to Canada, to many different parts of the world. And they chose still to tell their truth and to make light of it, but while still driving their point home. And in a lot of these different arts, you see that it's so over-exaggerated. It's them just saying that you all are trying to be sly and not let us be free. Then you're saying that we are free, but how are we free when there's constantly a force behind the place where we're supposed to be free trying to grab everything and grab us back? And even with this whole different opinion about the protests, and people would say the riots of Hong Kong, and you know, people saying, well, they were burning up the place. And it's like, but people don't want to live in a place where they are going to be controlled and they're not allowed to speak freely. They rather burn it to the ground. And then meanwhile, you have even some celebrities that were like, no, yeah, the police was right for arresting those people, for beating them, for spraying them. and it's like just like a cleanup, to be honest with you.
Well, I've been working as a cartoonist for about 40 years, and I've covered most of the incidents in Hong Kong from Tiananmen Square incidents until now. So there were a lot of things happening in Hong Kong, and then I used my cartoon as a record to have recorded all that has happened in the history.
Like Harry Harrison, an artist who is still active in Hong Kong, who is not of Asian descent, but he's still cranking out his art, and it's nice. I like how it has a certain feel that reminds me of like the Sunday funnies in a way, but I enjoy some of the jokes, and you know, some of the jokes might go over your head, some of the jokes you might get right away, but it's just having freedom of expression. Like, no matter people who are in support of China, people who are in support of Taiwan and Hong Kong in their fight to kind of, you know, bridge away, everyone should be allowed to have their own opinion, and I respect everybody's opinions, but I do not respect when you try to delete, erase, disappear the opinions that you feel like are against your agenda, or the opinions that you feel like you're saying are biased, when it's not biased, when we actually have history and footage of some of the stuff that has gone on. It's people just saying the truth. So these artists, I do hope they still continue to put out their work in social media. They have Instagrams, they have Twitters. They're still, I mean, thank God for like American media, for many different forms of media who aren't afraid to still talk about a lot of this that is going on right now, because it's important. I do feel like that America is sort of affected by it in a way, because it's important that we talk about it, because China is in the midst of everything, and it has a connection to America, and has a connection to the world and United Nations, and it's very important that you don't just let this go over your head, that you are, you know, at least side-eyeing it a little bit. Not keeping up with it every day, but at least, you know, checking in and being like, okay, what's crazy going on in the world? So you guys, there's a lot to think about. Follow my social media, mostly my Instagram. Also have a blog in East Asian pop culture. The link is always down in the description box below. And remember, be real, stay real, live in the real, and I will always be back. Homicidal maniac shirt. I don't know why I just did that. Bye.